This is Captain John Abramson. He was the first in engine company captain on engine 273 on the dock in Eddy's fire. John, could you go and just start off by walking us through dispatch, on scene, and what you encountered, and we'll go from there.
All right, so on dispatch, I believe that the dispatch stated that at least the PTI sounded like there were employees that had been working there. The fire was above the office. So we rolled out of here and driving down, it was still dark, but you could see a haze across the road on baseline. We pulled into QT's parking lot. There was a hydrant just on the west side of QT that we were going to catch. As we caught that hydrant, I started getting my on scene. At that point, the firefighter jumped off to take the hydrant. My on scene was, I believe, heavy smoke. Told him it was a bar. My initial thought was to take 1 3/4 inch, figured the office was in the back, kind of in the back corner. If I remember correctly, I had been in the structure about 10 years, at least deep inside that structure. So felt it was fairly large, figured there was going to be a bunch of tables in the way. We laid in, and the smoke was so heavy coming out the front door that it was really hard to see the cars in the parking lot. Kind of expected it to be empty. I know Ducking Eddy's, there's always cars left over there after the night is over at the bars, for people going home. And then we figured there were some workers there. So we pulled 1 3/4 inch to take it back. Almost immediately, my engineer, Sirio, said that we had a dry hydrant. So walked over, stepped on the line, and there was hardly any water in it. So at that point, the second due engine, which I believe was engine 272, had ordered them to take a hydrant anyways. And command had showed up, or battalion 271 had showed up. So at that point, we were starting to turn things over to them, let them know that we had a dry hydrant, and we had to pull a second line off of engine 272. As we started making our way to the door, and where the 272 was, figured it was going to be really hard to get all the way back to the back with the line that we pulled, and the volume of smoke coming out was intensifying. Really thick black smoke, hard to see across the parking lot. Engine 272 and my crew had started making entry, went into the first little foyer area probably maybe 20 by 20. Lots of heat and smoke coming out. Figured that was the only exit for the smoke. I had given the order for ladder 273 to go to the roof, give me a roof report. Wanted to coordinate with them before they cut a hole. As we were in that little foyer area, lots of heat and smoke coming out. Started trying to assess whether we're going to be able to make it all the way back. Like I said, there was going to be lots of chairs, lots of tables. We're going to have to wait. Didn't know the layout of the bar that well, but I knew there was high ceilings in there. So stepped through out of the foyer into the main body. Took a couple steps forward, stuck my wrist up in the air, and at that point I had high heat at my wristlet level, with it holding directly over my head. My wrist started burning, so we had that fire had a big jump on us. At that point, I can't remember if command radioed me or I radioed back to command, but anyways, the communication between command and myself was that we have high heat and heavy smoke. At that point, command decided to pull us out and go defensive. In the meantime, ladder 3 had completed a hole. We did feel a little cool air coming behind us, but it just intensified the heat inside of the structure. So at that point, we get pulled out. Engine 273 is just in a bad spot, too close to the building at this point since we're going defensive. And so at that point, we removed the truck from that area and disconnected. And at that point, we were kind of out of the firefight. We did spray a little bit of water, but we got transitioned out of it. That was about it.
Okay, perfect. So looking back on your actions, assignments, in hindsight, is there anything that you would do different if you ran this fire again?
I think the only thing is making that. They always say there's always going to be several errors involved in having the dry hydrant, having to transition, the extra time it took, the information we had in the initial call. We had too much of a volume. There was too many things going on. The dark smoke, I believe it. Hindsight, there was some foam on the walls that was probably burning. It just had a huge head start on us. I think the only thing I think I would have done differently is initially probably had engine 2 pull a 2.5, so that at least maybe we get some water initially from that front door, and then have the line in place with engine 3/4. If we could have made it back to the back, we would have. But just with that dry hydrant that we had, it was just too long. It's another couple minutes before we were going to get water on it. We just didn't have that much time to get to that back office and make that attack.
Okay, and last, we have a lot of newer captains being promoted. We're losing a lot of seniority in our agency. This type of commercial fires, we don't see them a whole lot. Do you have any advice that you'd give to any new captains that might experience something like this in the future?
I think being a little clearer, like you asked about doing something a little different. I would have told Ladder 273 a lot more specific. I asked for a roof report, and I should have added in, don't cut the hole until we coordinate. Didn't know what we were going to have, so that coordination between the ladder company, and I'm a ladder company captain, that's something I should have done better, is clarified that. And on something like this, be very pessimistic. This thing to me was a situation that we could have hurt somebody fairly quickly. Get deep back in there, and that thing would have flashed over with the amount of heat we had in there, and not enough water to be able to put on it, and quick enough. Just be very pessimistic about your approach on this type of fire.
All right, thank you.